Hi everyone, my name is Martha. I'm a relationship counselor and clinical sexologist, and I'm inspired to do this video. I'm just inspired to share this video. I've been in practice for 10 years, and when I first started, I didn't realize how much of a perfectionist I was, and in a way I had always been one. I had always been a perfectionist, and over years developed this very critical eye of myself. And this I think came about because of my diploma in mass communications. We were taught to look at everything in a critical way, how to improve, say like a poster, a brochure, a website. This was very much linked to my mass communication years when I was doing my diploma, and it just carried on where I was very critical of myself and of the things that I did, especially my work. So when I became a sexologist and started running workshops, I very quickly noticed that I was just tearing myself apart, tearing apart the workshop, and how I could have done better. And it got to a point I realized that I didn't want to do any more workshops because they just felt bad. Before I even start, I was already knowing that I would fail because I would already be tearing the workshop apart. So tearing the workshop apart, being perfectionist and being critical of myself was taking away a lot of energy, and to a point of paralysis where I was not able to feel joy in my work, and I was definitely not confident and not able to feel like I want to do those workshops anymore. So just think about it. If you are a perfectionist or somebody who is very critical of others and of yourself, when you were younger, maybe it's a good thing because it pushed you to excellence. But that may come a tipping point where this self-criticisms and being very judgmental, especially of yourself, brings you to the point of paralysis. And that was what was happening with me in my work. And when I learned this, and because I was working by myself, I couldn't just say, oh, it's too hard, so don't do it. Well, if I don't do it, then how am I going to make a living? Especially since I'm putting myself on the line as a sexologist. It's one thing to say I'm an event organizer and I'm behind the scenes. It's another to say I'm a coach, I'm a counselor, I'm a workshop presenter, I'm a sex educator, and you put yourself on the line. And this is very, very scary for somebody who is a perfectionist and who is very critical of themselves. So what happened was, because I knew that I was tearing my workshops apart every single time, I was already feeling very tired and drained, and I was not looking forward to the next one, and not wanting to run the next one. And so what I started to do was, I realized that I had to just find a solution. And what I did was, I told myself, and I think maybe some of my friends pointed out to me, which is, where's the good? What good did I do? What have I done that is good in these workshops? So I started this habit of postponing the criticism. I first anchor what I have done. Well, the fact is, I did put myself out there. I did commit. And after putting myself out there and committing, that's like A for courage, A for vulnerability. Then yes, there are always room for improvement, and there will always be. There's a never-ending list of room for improvement. So what had to change with my toxic way of doing things was, the first thing I did was I postponed the criticism. I didn't stop it, I postponed it, and tell myself, I don't have to do this right now. My friends are around me supporting my workshop. Let me just celebrate this with them. Let me celebrate that we've done this amazing thing, and they've helped me. A lot of times my friends come in and help me with registration. I'm so grateful for them. So first I celebrate it, and I anchor it into my body. It's very important. first you celebrate your wins, then after that you talk about how you could improve. So I was like, yeah, you know, I keep beating myself up over it, and I don't give myself permission to acknowledge what I've done at all, my courage, my vulnerability. So when I started to do that, and I have this long list of areas of improvement, so then it became, because of, I guess, the distance, you know, I took some time to celebrate, and then there's always room for improvement. It gave me perspective. I don't have to be so hard on myself. It's an ongoing and never-ending process of improvement. So why do I have to keep having all these things that cannot be changed? Let's only work on a few things. And so that's what I started to do. And each time I did it, I celebrated it, I anchored it into my body. And then I admit to myself there's always like a few things that I can look into, and over time it just became less of a pressure and more of a flow. I do things without even thinking about it, because a lot of times now I've been doing this for 10 years. What happens is I'm doing everything by myself. I'm setting up the space, I'm welcoming people, I'm handling the registration. That's why I try very hard to not handle payment when I'm running a workshop, because I don't want to have another thing to be thinking about, which is did they pay? I want to be able to spend time with the people who are there, and spend a little bit of time chatting with them so that they feel more comfortable, or answering their questions in between, you know, when we start and end a session. So every single minute that I'm at a workshop is showtime. You know, this is time you set up the space, you welcome people, you talk to people, you build a rapport. When they have a rapport with you, they feel more comfortable, so then they are more likely to ask questions, and they are more likely to energetically support you during the workshop. So it became very important for me to be fully present when I'm running the workshop. And it became more of a flow, as opposed to and more like natural, juggling like 4-7 balls all at the same time. It just became more natural. But it didn't start off that way, becoming more natural, when I didn't build myself up first. I had to build myself up first, because nobody else was building myself up, because I was working by myself, being very self-critical. And so I had to anchor and say, stop being so critical. It's not going to help you, because if you keep doing this, you'll stop running workshops. And that was what I was feeling like doing. I felt like stopping, like I can't get there, I'll never be good enough. And so I say, you know, stop. Just say you did a good job. You did a good job by simply showing up. You did a good job because you said you're going to do it, and you did it. That takes courage. And so I celebrate myself, celebrate with my friends. And then over time, there were, of course, occasions when my friends were not around supporting me at my events. I started doing lots of events by myself, and I had to celebrate myself. So every time after a workshop, I would just energetically in my head pat myself on the back and say, good job, well done, you showed up, you gave your best, before I even talk about like how I could have improved. I just park it aside. You park it aside first, anchor it, so that that's something, even if it's a small thing, something good came out of your workshop or session. And in my work, especially private sessions, my clients are coming in and they are not well. They're not at a good space. They come in with their problems and they want to have their problems resolved. So I can't be expecting my clients to be thanking me, or they should, but a lot of people don't. I can't expect my clients to write me testimonials. I can't be expecting my clients to basically take care of me. They're paying me to take care of them. So what I had to do, which I also learned over the years, is that I had to build myself up. So every time after a session, I would say, good job, you did a good job, you did well in this, you showed up fully, wow, you were on time. So I have to like almost acknowledge myself. Maybe not to the extent of like praising myself, but definitely acknowledging myself and saying, good job, you did this, wow, you were so sensitive in dealing with that topic, wow, I was noticing, Martha, that talking to myself, I was noticing, Martha, that you were speaking so nicely, you were so gentle, you were matching them with their pace, well done. So I would start to acknowledge myself, because guess what, if you don't acknowledge yourself, if you don't even go to the extent of praising yourself, is that who is doing that for you? Often we are looking at people around our lives and going, like we're waiting for people to praise us or to give us credit. But actually, sometimes the credit is not what you're looking for. Maybe you don't want them to be saying you have a nice dress. Maybe you want them to say you have a nice voice. So they are not giving you what you want. So why don't you give to yourself what you need, and give to yourself as much as you need. So I've had to do that. I've had to move away from being a perfectionist and being very critical of myself. I have had to anchor my wins, and I've even had to acknowledge myself, like, good job, you were very gentle with your clients today. I had to acknowledge that I was having good eye contact, and I was able to build rapport very quickly with them, and they were all smiling and glowing by the end of the session. They got something out of it. They may not tell you all these things, but you need to have the teacher above the teacher to not just be there at the session, but also witness yourself having the session, so that you can give yourself some acknowledgement, and of course always room for improvement. So nowadays, when it comes to room for improvement, I try to give myself not more than 3 areas of room for improvement, because if I start to go into a long list, and trust me, I can be, if I'm a very critical person, and I used to be, I have to stop myself from going too much into being very critical. And that's kind of how I healed, because there is really no point being drained and tired and jaded and doing this to ourselves. We need to be of the most positive, highest vibration, so that we can serve humanity. And a big part of it is self-care. Let's not even talk about self-love. If you are not there yet, caring for yourself is so important, so that you can do your best work. So this is how I moved away from being such a perfectionist, and being gentler with myself, and setting up some rules of operation has changed the way I am. When I was younger, 10 years ago, when I started my practice, I was so perfectionistic. I was so critical of myself, to the point of paralysis. I almost stopped running workshops, and then I had to change the way that I was doing things. And after I changed the way I was doing things, I started to have more compassion for myself. And when I had that space for that, and I started to realize it's very important to continue that in all areas of my life. Like, for instance, networking event, and just saying, you can go positively or negatively. You can say, you only spoke to 5 people, or you can say, good job, well done for even showing up. You were so tired, but you still went there and you connected with 5 people, as opposed to, So the inner talk that we have is so important. And you can say that, I'm just talking about inner talk. I'm talking about way more than that in this little video. So I'll stop talking now. I'll stop talking and show you where I am at. So I'm at International Building at TCC. So this is on the first floor of the place where I see clients. And they just renovated this place. I'm inside. This is like Guardian at the back, and at this cafe, and it's at street level. So I'm just waiting for a couple of people to show up for lunch, and I have a couple of errands to run today. And I was just inspired to run this video because I was doing a little sharing just now, and it just struck me that, hey, maybe some people would benefit from me doing this video about how I healed myself from being a perfectionist. I'll say that I am, after 10 years, I'm not a perfectionist anymore. I let a lot of things go, because you cannot control everything. And even if you try to control everything, you cannot. And you're driving yourself to the grave trying to. So I'm not so hard on myself anymore. Maybe that comes with age and experience. But definitely, I had to set up certain rules with myself. So now I'm repeating again what I just said. To heal the perfectionist in you, you have to set up some rules. The first rule after accomplishing something, doing something, is to acknowledge what you have done. You showed up at that networking event, well done. You did that workshop, well done. You were brave, you were courageous, you did your best. Even though it wasn't that great, but you did your best. And then I would delay the self-criticism. I don't know, maybe one day or maybe at least a few hours, and I would limit to myself, okay, maybe it's different for you, but for myself, I would give myself only up to 3 areas of improvement that I could tangibly work on. Certain things that are out of my control, I don't fuss about it anymore because it's not in my control, you know. Sure, I could have answered that person's question better, but at that point, that was the first thing that came to my mind. And in future, if such a question came, this is how I would handle it. So, you know, you can't control everything that comes up. So 3 areas of improvement, and when I don't get any praise, positive feedback, I always make sure that I give myself some positive feedback, like, well done. I would always celebrate, pat myself on the back, and it's not just workshops, it's also private sessions, because if we're expecting people to be at that place in their life to be able to do that, you can spend a long time waiting, and you can it may never come. So give acknowledgement to yourself. Let's not even talk about praise. Acknowledge you showed up. Thank you for showing up.